And I want to give you the long, drawn-out version of who our speaker is. She is great in her own right. God is doing wonderful work through her. She is my friend, my sister, the Reverend Lola Wright.
Well, I've been crying all morning. I was not expecting that. I think that the thing that I'm aware of is when one recommits to one's best self, not only do you impact yourself, but you impact the world around you. And I just have such huge appreciation for Derek and the incredible work that you have done within yourself. What I know is that if you had not done that interior excavating, I would not have the life that I have today. And I extend that gratitude to a man who came into my life 5 years ago, Galen McDowell, and just rocked my world. And then a couple years ago, I met this incredible human being that we call Jackie Atkins. And when someone sees you, something else happens. You know, when you are seen by someone else, when someone sees the high idea of you in a way that you don't always see yourself, it enables you to become your greatest self. And what Derek and Galen and Jackie have done for me is see me in times that I didn't fully see myself. And for that, I'm deeply grateful. Christ Universal Temple, your willingness to stand for this community, your willingness to contribute to this community, your willingness to love this community, your willingness to write checks to this community, your willingness to serve of your time in this community, not only serves the thousands of people that are affected by your community, but it serves the thousands of people that are affected by my community, by Cherie's community, by the many people that you touch. Your impact is quantum. I am so grateful for that. I had the opportunity during the Gold Rush Conference to do a spiritual counseling session with the Reverend Dr. Evelyn Boyd. And yeah, you should clap for that. And about a year ago, I started getting this message in my being that the resistance that I was deeply familiar with was not needed in the way it once was. And when I sat with Reverend Dr. Evelyn, she said, seemingly out of nowhere, when will you stop fighting? And I thought, how does she know? How did she know? And so that's my question for you. When will you stop fighting? When will you stop fighting the high idea of you? See, there is a high idea of you. Who are you? I mean, really, who are you? Let's talk about the word you. The context that you all created here. See, I'm just in the wake of your existence. So I'm just following what you told me. You told me when I started coming around here 5, 6 years ago that you are the individualized manifestation of the infinite, the expression or the offspring of the universe, that there is a holy presence that is nearer than your breath. And you remind me of that. So I come here today to remind you of that. You are not your circumstances. You are not your conditions. You are not the struggle that you have moved through. You have had struggle, and there is an aspect of your being that has never been hurt, harmed, or hindered. When I was 7 years old, my uncle was dying of AIDS. And I have a very distinct memory of crawling in bed with him with lesions all over his body. Do you remember the AIDS crisis? It was a very distinct memory. A few years later, something happened in my family system, a fracture of sorts. And the way that I thought my life was going to go, it was no longer going that way. Have you ever had that happen? It's as if you think something's going to occur, and then something else occurs. As a result of that fracture in my family, I sort of lost my way. I didn't know who I was anymore. My orientation was off. And so I started to seek outside of myself for some salve to my soul. Maybe it would be in this man. Maybe it would be in this club. I still love the club too. I just go there for different reasons now, you know what I mean? But I was looking, searching insatiably, and never satisfied. And then I found out I was pregnant. I was 18. And my dad wrote me a letter, one I wish I had saved. Because, you know, it's very valuable for me to remember from where I've come. And in the letter, he said, if you have an abortion, you will maintain all financial support. If you do not have an abortion, you will lose everything. And he made good on that promise. I have a 21-year-old daughter. She is studying in Berlin, Germany. She is a singer, songwriter, producer. She is a junior in college at New York University. And something in my soul knew that despite the circumstances and conditions that got me to that spot, it was a divine appointment. Now, there were all kinds of voices that something was wrong here, this was not right. But something in me knew. Have you ever had something that occurs in your life that it doesn't seem to make sense? The people around you are like, you're crazy, and something in you knows. So I listened to that. My relationship with my mom up until that time had been sort of challenged. We were like two very intense creatures living in one household. Do you know anything about that? And then when my dad really said, I can't deal with this, and I will tell you, I actually have deep appreciation for my dad's response. He was using the little bit of leverage he felt he had to save me from what he suspected would be a very difficult set of circumstances. And guess what? He was right. So oftentimes people will say when I share that, how's your relationship with your dad now? I always say my dad is my greatest practice partner in compassion and acceptance. Do you know that no matter what someone does to you, you can see them as your great ally in life? So at the time that I found out I was pregnant and my dad sort of responded the way he responded, my mom really stepped up. My mom is here with me today. Her name is Ann. She is like my biggest fan. We call her the Amen Choir. She sits in the front row of Bodie every Sunday, and we have a conversation. At 21, I was attending Unity in Chicago. I was just so thirsty for some truth. I didn't even know that, though. And there was a woman by the name of Mary Mannon Morrissey. I don't know if you remember her. She came to speak that day, and she said, "We are launching something called an internet radio show." Okay, this was 2000, and I was like, I want to know about that. That afternoon, we went to a workshop that she attended, and she said, one person will win a membership into this opportunity. It's $7,500 a year, but one person will win a membership. And something in my soul said, that's mine. You actually are that powerful. You actually have the power to create a field of experiences that are wholly in service of your becoming. See, something in me knew I was so hungry, I was so thirsty, I needed something to bust through the experience of struggle I was in. So I said to my mom, can we go to this thing? She said, sure. I walked in, they pulled out the ticket. Lola Wright, you're the winner. Of course I am. I knew. What that meant was that for 3 years, I got to go to this conference called Pioneers for the Possible, New Thought Broadcasting. And so I found myself in Palm Springs. I was 21 years old. I had 2 kids that were under the age of 3. I was in a very volatile relationship. And I heard this man, Michael Beckwith, speak. Never heard of him before in my life. We were sitting in a big, dark hotel conference room, and he just started to speak, and I started to weep. Something in me was stirring. Something in me knew. I don't know what this man is talking about. I don't know who he is, but there is an aliveness that is moving in me. And I looked at him and I said to myself, I'm going to do that. Whatever that is, I'm going to do that. It turned me on to this guy, Ernest Holmes. Perhaps you've heard of him. Any maladjustments in your life will be healed when you realize this perfect center within yourself. The vision you must catch and hold is the consciousness of a union so complete and perfect that you find no difference between your own being and God. The two are one. See, I was raised Catholic. I went to Catholic school, kindergarten through 8th grade. It was more of like a cultural experience. You know, Catholics aren't really about the Bible, so to speak. I did know that the presence of love was of great service. When my uncle was dying of AIDS and my grandmother witnessed the way community responded to her son who was gay, dying of AIDS, she said, they must not know Jesus. Devout Catholic, they must not know Jesus. So I knew something else was going on. But this idea that God was not outside of me, but that God was within me was revolutionary. Do you know that you are part of a liberation philosophy? You think Trinity is a liberation philosophy. You're in it. You are in it. No disrespect to Trinity. So deeply grateful for Reverend Otis Moss. But you here have something that this planet is so deeply starving for, so hungry for. There is a power and presence for good in the universe. How could that be? because I too love my MSNBC. I love some Rachel Maddow. And you're telling me there's a power and presence for good in the universe, and this is happening on the planet? How could that be? There's a deep, sleepy state going on. When you recommit to your best you, it is for you, and more profound than that is for the liberation of humanity. Because there is an aching on the planet right now. Christ Universal Temple, you are so deeply needed. Your work is so holy. It is so sacred. I showed up here for Johnny Coleman's memorial in 2015. I never met her. But you want to know what she tells me all the time? I love you. I don't even know you, and I love you. You listen to any of her recordings, she always says that. I love you. She spoke love into me when I was on a desert. And you carry that legacy here. She is in this place. How could an 18-year-old, not college educated, volatile, violent drama, I mean, if you want to hear about some drama, I will tell you, I have so many stories. And my life looks the way it does today because Johnny Coleman said yes, because Michael Beckwith said yes, because Galen McDowell said yes, because Reverend Dr. Evelyn Boyd said yes, because Derek Wells said yes, because Jackie Atkins said yes, because Roderick said yes, because Cherie said yes. You must say yes because my life depended on it. See, I didn't know that there was a maladjustment in my soul. I did not know. You know, sometimes you can't see what others can see. I required these people to do their work so that I could have the life I have. I spent many years working in banking. My first job was at First Chicago. You remember that place? I worked in the retail loan operations division. No windows, just dank. Sort of depressing. But I had a baby. And my mom came down one day and she took me out for lunch. And we sat at, I think it was Rosebud, in what's used to be called 3 First National Plaza. And she looked across the table at me and she said, "You could be the CEO of this bank if you want." And I was like, this lady is crazy. Again, now I have 2 kids, an alcoholic relationship, lots of violence. No college degree, and she's telling me I could be the CEO of what is now Bank One? She's crazy. Thank God she's crazy. Because she was holding an idea of and for me until I could hold it for myself. So when you recommit to your best you, it's not only about you. Personal transformation in service of collective awakening. That's what I'm about. Personal transformation in service of collective awakening. Do you think that there would be a value for a little collective awakening on the planet? When I was 26, I found this place, Bodhi Spiritual Center. Yeah, give it up. And I walked in, and it was a community of people that reminded me of the truth of who I am. At that point, I was working at Bank of America. And I just kept fighting Reverend Evelyn. I mean, fighting. I would look at my mom, who's raised $60 million for the largest hospice organization in the country, a professional fundraiser that does amazing work. It was like a ministry for her. I looked at my brother, who's a massage therapist and personal trainer. He worked with Bernie Mac for years, an incredible healer on the planet. And I thought, how have these people so clearly found what they're here for? What I know to be true of both my mom and my brother is they rolled the dice. And they rested on the Spirit of God within them that is the source of their supply, that is informing their every move. They knew they were here for something great. My mom knew when her best friend died in hospice that she was to be a part of a legacy. She knew when her brother died in hospice, she was here to make an impact. My brother was a little, skinny, scrawny guy that would get picked on. He is now 6'4" and very swole. And he has like the heart of a teddy bear. He used his life, the mess of his life, to be of service to something greater. I think the thing I'm so struck by that moved me to tears is the heart of service that lives in this community. The care. When I walked out of Dr. Wells' office this morning, I thought we were going to come in here. And all of a sudden, we're in this room with these incredible human beings that are singing their most boisterous song for like 10 people. Like their life depended on it. I didn't realize until that moment how locked up in the ego construct of the you I was. Operating at the level of the intellect. Let me get this done, 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 let me get this done. And they broke me open. Do you know? Yes. Do you know that there are two aspects to the you that you are? There's your ego and your essence. I would say the vast majority of us walking on the planet right now are highly oriented around the ego. The locus of control for the ego is outside of oneself. The puppet strings of life are pulling you based on your credentials, based on your outfit, based on who you're dating, based on how much money you have on the bank, based on, very little to do with the truth of who you are. Your essence is your power center. It is the God body as you. It is the one that says, out of nowhere, out of no way, a way will be made. So my question is, are you living from your ego or your essence? You're never going to get rid of the ego. The ego serves you. So well, the ego serves you. The idea is not to get rid of the ego. But when the ego is playing you, your results, the impact that you can have on the planet is thwarted, diminished. It's like a wet blanket. It's covering your light. So recommit, this word. First, let's talk about the word commit. Committere, from the Latin etymology, to gather one's energy and move it in a chosen direction. You just add the prefix of just do it again. To gather one's energy and move it in a chosen direction again. See, wouldn't it be nice if we could come here once and be complete? Wouldn't it be nice if I could sit with the Reverend Dr. Evelyn Boyd and she like waves some fairy dust over me and the fight that I'm deeply addicted to, poof, gone. But that's not what you pressed into this dimension of reality for. You pressed into this dimension of reality to get some chops. And how do you develop your chops? Do you practice? You practice, right? That's funny, huh? You mean I couldn't just sit here and do what he does? And yet we want to get sad that our lives look the way they do. But are you practicing? It's real easy to look out here. We have a president of the United States that is so deeply skilled at that, beloved. Always out here in someone else's business. And how good is that serving us? See, Byron Katie says there's your business, there's my business, and there's God's business. When I do the interior work within my soul to excavate all of the nonsense, see, because we talked about this yesterday at Gold Rush, you're like a filtration system. Life is pressing through you, and it's all junked up. I don't have enough. He didn't do that right. I should have gotten that promotion. Why doesn't he let me on the platform? Doesn't he see how brilliant I am? What's wrong with him? It's all out here. There is a presence in back of all things that is nearer than your breath and vaster than your being. Get out of his business, please. Get in your business. You are a unique, individualized idea. No one can do life like you can do life. Would you please get busy with it? See, recommit to your best you, to gather your energy and move it in the direction of your holy self again and again and again. Reverend Dr. Evelyn said to me, it's just about practice. See, Reverend Dr. Derek has not arrived. And the brilliance about him is he knows he hasn't arrived. He's so hungry. He's hungry for the growth of this community. He's hungry for the growth of you. He's hungry for the growth of the money here. Why? Not so he can bathe in it, so he can expand the consciousness of liberation on the planet, because folks are hungry. Live merely as a physical being. People will speak of you as being strong or weak. Rise into the mental realm. They will speak of you as having a greater or lesser degree of intelligence. Ascend to your Father's house and recognize that God is the consciousness which you are. Then some will perceive something in you of a spiritual nature. Spiritual consciousness is an awareness that all you need flows to you from within your own being. Now, here's what's interesting about this. The first two stanzas say people will notice. The third stanza says some will notice. See, when you align with the high idea of you, it will disrupt the world of those around you, and it will be unsettling. So if what you require is great affirmation of your goodness from the world around you, it's probably not going to come. If you want to live in a dualistic framework, good, bad, right, wrong, weak, strong, smart, dumb, you'll get a lot of agreement for that. But if you want to transcend that realm and rise into the high altar of consciousness, where your life becomes a holy channel for the disruption of mediocrity, the disruption of apathy, the disruption of not enoughness, that would be the Father's house. Would you like to play there? See, when I got to Bodhi, I was 26, and I just started listening. My checking account was chronically overdrawn, and I would look at it obsessively. But I was told over and over again that I am abundant, that there is a power and presence for good that is moving in me. The life I have today is unrecognizable. So Christ Universal Temple, I thank you for being a stand on the planet for people's greatness. I thank you for being a place of freedom and abundance. I thank you for reminding a young teenage mom that she could have a good life, because I have that good life. Many blessings.